I think parents also should realize that everything cannot be compressed into 2 years. So I think what Indian parents have to do, they need to move from protecting to preparing, so that they allow the children to have some time on their own to explore and become the kind of individuals that they are. But Indians, we are polyglots.
Yes.
We speak so many languages.
Easily 4 languages.
Easily 4 languages, which is not the case with other people in the world.
Europe is suffering from nurses. So healthcare is suffering in Europe. So it's like spending 1 year will save easily like 20 to 40 lakhs of rupees for their higher education.
But here, the reason why the Germans particularly want the 13th year is not because your qualifications did not make you eligible. They want students to understand the German way of teaching. Like critical thinking is important, self-work is important, project work is important. So if they have, say, 20 seats for a particular program, there are 1,500, 2,000 students applying for it. By coming as part of the pathway, you get eliminated from that. So you don't have to apply and wait and see what happens, whether you get accepted or you don't get accepted. I would say that the URH-FH Dortmund pathway, which has taken almost about maybe 2 years to curate, is like an autobahn. It is a high-speed strategic transition designed for seamless integration into FH Dortmund.
Today's conversation is about something that goes beyond mark sheets, beyond degrees. It's about global readiness. And joining us today is someone who has been quietly shaping that global mindset for thousands of students. Meet Umita Melwani, an educational entrepreneur, language specialist, and a strong force behind redefining how students approach international education. She is a founder of IFLAC, URH Educational LLP, Regional Director at Brave Generational Academy, and she is an alumni from IIM Bangalore and an award-winning Entrepreneur of the Year. Her work sits at intersection of language, culture, and global opportunity. Umita ma'am, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shiva.
Yeah. So I'll be asking few questions related to education, then about URH and the whole process, the whole journey for a student to reach Germany. So to start with, so this is some kind of a parenting patterns. So there seems to be a growing concern that parenting patterns such as overprotection, excessive restrictions, and enabling comfort are contributing to a lack of independence among students. What is your perspective on this?
Yeah, it's fascinating, and it's actually a very true observation that you have made. I think we've done what I could call a generational pendulum swing into the how and why of our parenting styles. If you remember when we were younger and we were kids, our parents, they would expect us to excel at academics and maybe do some extracurricular activities,
True.
learn maybe a language or a dance or some sport. As the economy has changed and India has gone from a scarcity mindset to an aspirational mindset, so what parents want now today, they want to give all the opportunities to their children, give them what they feel they didn't get in their childhood, and somewhat, I think, live vicariously through their children.
Yeah.
So now they want children to do everything. They have to go to expensive schools. They have to be excellent at academia. They have to do some sports, not one sport, but multiple sports, learn music, learn dance, learn a foreign language. So, and they keep this child occupied all the time. So there's no time for the children to have any self-stimulation.
Retrospective kind of.
Yeah, no time management skills. So, of course, the children have very high credentials, but they have very low life stamina because they are not able to do their own time management. They are not able to do anything without instruction. So I think what Indian parents have to do, they need to move from protecting to preparing, so that they allow the children to have some time on their own to explore and become the kind of individuals that they are.
Parents should allow the kids to learn on their own something.
Yes, exactly.
Kids also should know about themselves.
Know about themselves so that some amount of critical thinking is developed. They
Correct.
understand how to discipline themselves and think on their own. So, they say nowadays children come all the time and say, we are bored.
Yeah.
And parents immediately want to find some activity to fill it in.
Correct.
But actually let the child get bored, because then they will learn to find how
Definitely.
to entertain themselves or maybe make something, and they will figure out how to do it.
because parents are also occupied. Both of them are working today. So that might be another reason. Yeah.
So I think it's okay for parents to work, that's fine.
Yeah.
But parents should not feel guilty that they're working.
Yeah.
You know, our parents, maybe I could say that my mother didn't work outside the house, but she was a very busy person at home. There was cooking, cleaning, so many
Obviously.
things, helping
Yeah.
us with homework sometimes. So it was
Yes.
not like they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But children should be allowed to do things on their own as well.
Many students choose college based on the social status or peer comparison rather than the academic fit. So how can this mindset be changed?
Uh, well, this is a very pertinent question. How can this mindset be changed? Might take some time, but you're correct. In India, we are very much under peer pressure, under this society mindset. So
Absolutely.
we want to do something that our neighbors did or someone else did. Instead of that, when we are choosing a university, we should think about the curriculum. We should think about the academic fit. What kind of a campus is there? I think most important is we have to stop thinking about brand and we have to start thinking, does this course match what we are looking for? Does this course, is it based on the skill sets that we have? Now, for instance, you could join a very highly reputed university,
Universities.
and it could be a classroom where there are about 500 students and it's a lecture style classroom. But maybe you're the kind of person who might do better if you went to a university which had a lab and there were 30 people in the lab and they could get hands on training. And that might be better for you. So when you are choosing, rather than worrying about the brand and the ranking, you should think if the fit, academic fit, is good for you. And a lot of students are, auditory learners. So they like to be able to hear their lecturers. So they want to be in close contact with their lecturers. So then it's better to go in for a smaller university where you'll have much more closer contact with your lecturers. And then you'll also be doing far much more better because you'll be in a class of maybe 40, 50 students rather than lost in a sea of 200, 300 students.
True.
So there are various factors I think that we should look at. But I think most important, we have to change our mindset.
Yeah, because also there is a shortage of faculties to provide that kind of a facilities also. So that is also more important. It's a balancing act between institutions and parents.
Correct. It's a balancing act. And also, I think in India, particularly currently, we have a lot of universities, but we don't have enough trained faculty to be able to do all of this.
Correct.
So that is definitely leading to a mismatch.
Yeah. And also there is a pay mismatch between a teacher and an engineer, teacher, and that is also there.
Yes.
That also has to be fixed because certain things cannot be done from a parental side. Certain things has to be done from the other side. That is also important.
I think, in fact, schools should not expect parents or even universities to do any kind of teaching because that's what should come from the institution.
Yes. So this is something on spending said. So many parents invest heavily in education until K-12, but then look for a cost-effective options for their higher education, either in abroad or in domestic. So what is your perspective on this trend?
I think this is also based on the way our higher education today is configured. If you see all the top tier colleges in India, they have very few seats. And there are a lot of people competing to get into those seats. So when you're in your school, you start by fourth, fifth grade, getting into coaching institutions, preparing for these tough exams that you have to crack when you're in high school, as well as the fact that because there are limited seats, so parents think there has to be a safety net. So you have to prepare for another set of college where, you'll have to do different activities, you might have to do different extracurriculars. So parents have to prepare for both. Now, this is very expensive because you have to do so many activities, plus parents send their children to tuition classes, which also cost a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And then sometimes when the students reach grade 9, then they feel they need to change them to an international school because they're doing coaching class, which will give them an advantage in their Indian curriculum, in the Indian higher education. And when they do international schooling, they can go abroad. So they want to keep both the paths open. This causes a lot of financial drain. So obviously, by the time they reach the university, they have really spent a lot of money on many ancillary activities to education. So that becomes very difficult. So I think it's very important to understand your child and possibly choose one pathway early on so that you spend your money wisely.
Because recently one financial advisor is saying, so don't spend too much on the school. You put that money into SIPs or whatever investments. So spend heavily on the good class A grade or A grade level universities. That is what he's putting, that kind of financial advising. So that is also a way that parents should look into it.
Definitely, because parents should look at what is the disposable income they have and definitely not spend everything immediately right now. So you need to save for what comes in the future.
So, with the rise of digital platforms, how reliable is the information provided by influencers about education abroad?
Well, this is actually a very complex field. Education abroad is a very complex field. So, yeah, you have many influencers who sometimes are talking from their own experience, but it's again limited to their own experience. And a lot of them also, I think, post information just based on one university or one place where they are interacting with. And sometimes they may not know much about other universities or even other courses. So, here, while you can watch these reels for entertainment and for some information, we can't say everything is unreliable.
Correct.
But definitely, if you're looking at going abroad to study, it's better to have an education counselor who has experience and who knows more about the courses that you want to do, the geography that you want to go into. So, this will be a more in-depth kind of an engagement that you need to have. Also, maybe if you're wanting to follow social media, listen to podcasts like this, where there is somebody like you who is giving valuable advice, who's connecting you also with these institutions that are there abroad, the universities. So these are not snackable bits that, influencers put because they are obviously looking at instant engagement.
Correct.
And this is it's a lifetime decision.
Yeah.
So you need to put time and effort into it.
So, how can student differentiate between the guidance and versus promotions?
Again, I think this comes down to how much of critical thinking you can exercise.
Yeah.
So you need to, of course, check the credentials of the person who is giving you advice and on what basis are they giving you advice. And also see if it fits into your goals. So definitely, if you have an educational counselor who has been with you for some time, who has understood who you are, they would be able to guide you better.
Why is there often misinformation or a lack of clarity about studying in Europe? And how can this be addressed?
So I think the first issue about studying in Europe, though it's not a new pathway that students are looking at as going to study their university in Europe, it's just that more number of people are looking at it today. And we have always been an Anglo-Speric educational mindset country. We always look at only English taught programs.
Yes.
So conventionally, people go either to the US, UK, then it increased to Australia and somewhat to Canada. But people don't know much about Europe, and people tend to think of Europe as an extension of these countries, which is not true. And especially the European Union itself is an amalgamation of about 28 countries, each with their own culture, their own language. So it's very important that people understand that. And then also the study in Europe is slightly different because European universities, for instance, don't follow the ranking system that American universities do.
Absolutely true.
They have their own European Quality Assurance Register, which does regular audits of their program, and which means that if any university is under that, so it's the same quality in all the courses that are offered as per that. Also, I think in Europe, because best universities are public universities, and they don't really charge any major fees from the student. So then a lot of educational counselors may not recommend it because based on what kind of other,
financial
benefits they might get from paid universities.
So there is of a course an increasing interest to study in Europe because Europe is actively seeking for international talent. And what opportunities does this create for students?
So Europe, as you said, they are looking increasingly at international talent, primarily in areas such as green energy, digitization, project management, because they have a large requirement for this, and also in some countries they have a shrinking population. So they want talented young people to come from different countries. And a lot of these European countries have also made it attractive, now allowing foreigners to come to their countries and get education in public universities where it's tuition free. Plus, they're also offering attractive visa staybacks. For instance, in Germany, once you study your degree there, you get an 18-month stay back and work visa,
True.
which makes it good for you because you can get some work experience. Plus, they're allowing Indian students to stay back, to work during their degree. So, most of the countries like Germany is offering 20 hours a week. Spain has, in fact, increased it to 30 hours
30
a week.
hours, yes.
So, students can also then offset their living expenses by doing part time work. So, they get experience while they're studying, and plus, they have a visa to stay back and work.
So in Europe, as you mentioned, it's a amalgamation of 28, 29 countries. So it is kind of a similar to India. We
Correct.
also have a different state, different culture. So how important is this language?
So, yeah, language is very important, and I think Indians should understand it. We
Yeah.
speak so many different languages, and then we have English that is connecting us and is the language of higher education. So, in Europe, also, I think Indians should realize that they are not really an English speaking continent. Each country has their own language and has their own culture. Therefore, if you learn their language, you also get a better understanding of their culture, and then it opens up doors for employment. It's far much more easier for you to get an employment in Europe if you speak their language. In fact, I think the percentage increases by around 67% if you're fluent in the language. And of course, they're also looking at people who can come and easily work in their country. So definitely understanding culture and language are both important.
So for example, if a student, irrespective of the country, if they want to go to Europe, which language do they need to learn, or a most spoken language of Europe?
That's a very difficult question. That's, to say, like, if you were in India and if you had to work in the local industry, can you learn Kannada or can you learn Tamil or should you learn Marathi? It'll again depend on which state you go to, right?
Yeah.
So in Europe also, you'll have to decide on which country you want to go to. Of course, just broad-based, the more popular languages because of the opportunities available are German. German because you can study in Germany, you can study in Austria and Switzerland as well.
Even Belgium, they
Belgium.
can live in Netherlands.
You can, of course, look at Spanish because Spanish is now widely spoken in many parts, just as an add-on language in some European countries. And then French, Italian.
Yeah, which is easy to learn. This is an Indian student question.
Which is easy to learn. If you put in some hard work, everything is easy.
Yeah, because whenever a student asks, he always asks, "Sir, is it easy to learn? How difficult? Is it okay if we clear so much like that?" What will you say for these kind of students? They're aspirant, but they ask these kind of questions. What will you say to them?
I think people have a little bit of fear because they feel, how will we learn a new language? But Indians, we are polyglots.
Yes,
We speak so many languages.
easily 4 languages.
Easily 4 languages, which is not the case with other people in the world. Of course, some Europeans are like Indians. They also speak 3 to 4
Yes.
languages. But we are polyglots. We can speak many languages. And we have a historical base for this. If you see that when the British came to India and then Indians thought that they needed to go to Britain and get higher education, especially in the fields of law and medicine and architecture, so many Indians learned English as adults, went there and excelled.
Correct.
And we have a good example. If you talk about a former president, Dr. Abdul Kalam, he studied in the Tamil medium till his 12th standard. It was only when he joined bachelor's degree that he moved to an English medium school. And then he became an aerospace expert. He headed ISRO and he became the president of our country.
Yeah.
So I don't think language should be a barrier. It's an enabling tool. Of course, you need to put in some effort, but it's not like it's not possible. It's very doable for Indians.
For example, if any student want to go abroad, or if the student want thinking of Europe, so at what age or something that you suggest them to prepare for language?
So this can be done in 2 ways. If there is an opportunity in your school, you can start studying earlier itself.
Okay.
Just give you some idea about what it is. But I do understand under the NEP, taking a foreign language as a second language is not possible. So I don't think students should worry about that, because once they finish high school, they can easily, take in a year, maybe like a gap year, learn the language to the level, and easily then go to the country of their choice and take up whichever course they would like.
So the learning language opens up opportunities
Correct.
and it saves a lot of money.
Eventually, because
Okay.
see, when you study, if you were to go now for an English dot program, now going to the UK alone would be an average cost of about £20,000, more but not less per year as your fee.
Absolutely
And
true.
if you go to the US, Canada, and Australia, it's definitely much more than that. But if you went to say to Germany and you studied in a public university, you don't have to pay any tuition fee. Plus, you get all the opportunities of getting a world class education like all the other institutions. So you might spend some time to learn the foreign language and some money and efforts on that, but that easily gets covered with your higher education.
So it's like spending 1 year will save easily like 20 to 40 lakhs of rupees for their higher education.
Possibly more, because you're looking at 20 lakhs to 40 lakhs a year. So if you're looking at education which is over 3 to 4 years, that's a substantial amount of saving.
So when considering the university degrees in Europe, should students focus on programs which are taught in English or in the like either German or a French or Spanish? So what is your opinion on it and how it will help them for a career growth?
I think students should see what is their expectation after they finish studying. So if you are going to Europe to study your bachelor's or your master's, what is it that you're looking at doing after that? Now, a lot of students want to stay back and work. So if you want to stay back and work, then you need very high levels of the language, which also helps you to have better cultural assimilation. But some students might, they might have family run businesses, or they might be looking at later on coming back to India, or they might be looking at moving to the US or to another English speaking country. Then for those students, they could still continue to learn. They could study in English itself. But of course, some kind of cultural assimilation would mean that at least some base level of the language you should learn.
So which of the European language can we take it to a global level in like any of the language? Which language if they learn can they go to a global stage?
So the most, I think, important languages today are German, primarily because of the excellence of German engineering, and also because Germany is looking at so much of global talent. And of course, Germany is also a very highly regarded country. It's got the fifth largest economy in the world, and therefore that makes it an important language. And German also because Austria is there, Switzerland is there. So those are also countries with high GDPs. The other most important language is Spanish, because Spanish is the de facto second language in the United States, and you have all of Latin America.
Correct.
And there's a lot of opportunities opening up even for students in Latin America, both to study in their universities, or if you know the language, then you can transition there and work there as a professional. You'll be surprised to hear as to how many now Latin American companies are entering into collaborations with Indian companies for
Yes,
pharma, for tech, for
textile for
building so
agro.
many things, agro.
Okay. So the next, what kind of courses will open up for Indian students when they learn this German language or Spanish or French or Italian when they go to Europe?
Basically, if you learn the language, and especially if you want to study in their language, you can study anything, because today Europe has opened all university programs to Indian
All
students,
sectors.
all sectors. And especially countries like Germany, for instance, they have opened this every single program to Indian students who want to study in German. France is doing that. I think everybody has heard the French president Emmanuel Macron keep talking about the fact that currently there are 10,000 students studying in France, and they want to make it 30,000.
30,000 by 2030.
Yeah, so by 2030. And so they also want students to come and study in French, because then it makes it easier for you to stay back and work there. So I think most Indian students also might want to have that international experience on their curriculum, on their CV. So then it was a good opportunity for them to stay back and also get cheaper education.
So can student pursue their medicine in Europe in the German or Spanish if they learn language?
Yes, they can, but it's not a completely straightforward pathway, Generally, if you want to study in Germany, for instance, medicine, it can take you easily up to 2 years to be able to join the course, because you have to study the language, you have to pass certain entrance exams, you also have to learn medical German. So that takes about 2 years. But of course, then the benefits are that if you enter the system, then you get world class education. But there are limited seats for that.
Okay.
In Spain also, in Germany also, at least right now, there are limited seats, but we'll have to see what happens as they will now require more medical personnel.
Yeah, because even
Then
the
what happens?
doctors are shortage in Germany.
Exactly.
Europe is suffering from nurses. So healthcare is suffering in Europe. So I think because even through some they're recruiting nurses, if they clear B1, and because of that I asked this question to you.
So, yeah, nursing is open since a few years. But also in nursing, what they have is not just they recruit nurses, they also recruit students who study up to a B2 level. And then you can go and do your complete nursing course over there.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have to even study your nursing over here. So that pathway has already been opened so that you can study up to B2 in India. You get your B2 certification, and you have to do some medical vocabulary training and pass your exam, which is based on this Pflegeprüfung, what it's called, nursing. And then after that, you can go to Germany and you can study there. So I think they will do something like that for medicine, for doctors as well, since they've already started for nurses.
So how important for students to understand the European culture before they travel?
I think this is extremely important, because if you're going as a tourist, of course, it doesn't make much of a difference.
Yeah.
But if you are planning to live there for 3 or 4 years, I think not just going to Europe. See, if somebody came from Europe to India, they will also have to learn how to
Adjust
work
with
with the
Indian,
Indians,
yes.
and how things work over here.
Correct.
So similarly, there also it's the same thing. You have to work with a different set of people. How do you work with them? What do you do? What is the social background? What is the cultural background? Some business etiquette if you want to do a part-time job or you want to stay back and work. So I think it's equally important for either ways, either coming to India or going out of India.
So what is your view on foreign universities which are establishing in India?
There are actually several universities, especially from the UK, that have come and established campuses in India. I think it's primarily to give students the opportunity to get their curriculum, but at a much reduced fees. But still, the same feel that you get when you're in the country, you're not going to get that when you're here. So if you want to have an immersion and get a feel of that area that you're working with, you need to be there. For instance, if you're interested in German engineering, of course, you could join a college over here that had the same curriculum, but you will not have the same access to, say, the industries, the kind of experience to see what's on the road, what is the mindset of the people,
Alumni,
alumni.
libraries.
So many other factors are there. So I think still the gold standard would be for you to go to that country if you want a full immersive experience.
Okay, studying bachelor degree in Europe, studying bachelor's degree in European public universities is often not just straightforward like after 12th. So can you tell a bit more about this?
Yeah, so generally, the normal thing is that when you're studying, you finish your 12th standard, you apply to universities and you go directly. I think a lot of parents and students also don't know that many countries, including some countries like even the UK and Australia, they have foundation year, or they have some what Germans call 13th year or student colleague for international students to come there. And they need to do this before they start their bachelor's program. So a lot of European countries require this because primarily it's based on the fact that you need to get the language skill set before you start. And in Germany, it's compulsory that you need to do 13 years. So you have to finish your 12th standard and you need to do 1 year, you can call it as a pathway program before you join the bachelor's degree in Germany.
So you mentioned word called pathway. So in Indian mindset or an Indian parent's mindset, pathway means it is often suggested for a student who is low meritorious student. So how would you clarify this?
So yeah, I guess that definitely it does come to people's mind.
Yeah.
Because you feel that maybe your education qualifications did not make you eligible. But here, the reason why the Germans particularly want the 13th year is not because your qualifications did not make you eligible. They want students to understand the German way of teaching. Like critical thinking is important, self work is important, project work is important. So they require students not just international students, even their students have to do either a gap year or an extra year so that they get these skill sets before they join the program. So it's not because you are not academically eligible, it is because you need to acquire certain other skills before you join their bachelor's program.
So instead of the term called pathway, so we need to use as 13th year.
As 13th year, yes, you can say that could be used. And because also in Europe, most of the degrees are only 3 years.
Yes, all the bachelors are 3 years.
The United States has just made the foundation year as part of the degree.
Yeah.
So if you go to the United States, you do a 4-year degree, but the first year is a foundation year.
Yes.
So you're allowed to experiment, understand how the university works. So it's similar to that, but only it's not part of your degree. It's something you do before you come to your degree.
So even in engineering in India, we do that 1 year. We study all the subjects, so
Correct.
whatever is there in engineering. So can you compare our education system with German education system?
So I think there are just some differences, of course, are there, but I think the major differences rise one in the style of teaching. There's a lot of independent work, not so much rote learning in Germany. And also, Germany recognizes that there are different types of students. So there might be some students who want to study up to the 10th standard, and then they might be looking at more what we call vocational or skill-based studying. And there might be another set of students who want to go to university. So what they do is after you finish the 10th grade, you can choose a different direction. You can go to a Berufsschule. So you then get prepared to, either do an Ausbildung, which is like doing a skill-based study program, or you go to the gymnasium. If you go to the gymnasium, that means this high school is preparing you for university education. And that could be either University of Applied Sciences or it could be a technical research university. So they just give you this distinction.
So basically that after 10th, so they'll spend 3 years either in Berufsschule or gymnasium.
Correct.
Then they'll go for bachelor science, engineering and everything. So in India, we have nomenclature like BE, BTech, BCA, MCA and all. In Europe, it is just say bachelor's or a bachelor of science. Why is it called only one name?
So, because Indians, we are very obsessed with labels. That's, of course, one of the things. Everything has to have some fancy label on it.
Yeah.
The Europeans, I think less of it. They think more about what should be the content of the course. And when you talk about whether it's a BTech, like basically engineering, or versus a BSc, that's just, I think for them, it's just the nomenclature. It doesn't make a difference. The contents will definitely be made as per, like we earlier spoke about, the European Quality Assurance Registry. So based on that, the contents will be developed and curated. Just the name of the degree might vary from university to university.
Because parents should be noting this, because parents are more obsessed with these names.
Yes, because a lot of actually engineering, what is we know as BE degrees in India are actually BSc degrees in Europe. And that doesn't change the weightage of the degree, nor does it change what salary you will get. It's just based on how the university decided to classify it or as per the EQAR.
So how important is for the students and parents to have a clear understanding of this 13th year requirement by German universities for the bachelor program and its long-term impact on the student's performance?
So if you just, just recall, just 2 minutes back, we spoke about the German high school system.
Yes.
Where they divide into two different tracks, depending on whether they want to do like a vocational skill-based or university. And there it was 3 years.
Correct.
So that was after 10th grade, you need 3 years. So that's the reason why you have what we are calling in India the 13th year. Because here after 10th standard, we generally do only 2 years. So we need to fulfill that requirement because that is the requirement of the German education system. Then it also needs, you need some time for academic readiness to understand how you will be studying in Germany. Language readiness, what is required from the language point of view, because you have to study language up to a certain level.
Correct.
So you need time for that also. And I think parents also should realize that everything cannot be compressed into 2 years. So students will have some time for focus and performance in the 11th and 12th grades. So they can spend time to ensure that they do well in their subjects in 11th and 12th, because ultimately it is the marks and their academic performance, which will get them into the European university.
True.
So once they get the good marks in high school, they can easily transition into the 13th year and then go to Germany or France or anywhere else that they are looking at studying.
So, is it our diploma in India? We have a diploma for 3 years after 10th. Can this be counted as 13th year to apply for bachelor's in Germany or Austria or other places?
So this is not a very straightforward question. I mean, straightforward answer that I can give this question, because students who do that 10 plus 3, which is like when you go to an institution like GTTC in Bangalore, for instance, where you do a 3-year diploma,
Correct.
will you be eligible to go to Germany or France or Spain? This depends on each university over there, because there, as you know, each country has their own states and they have their own state laws and their own city laws, and those govern the universities. So depending on what you have done here, there has to be a matching to that curriculum, and if your curriculum, yes, matches what is required, you can go there for the bachelor's. If not, you'll again have to do
This 1 year.
the 13th year program if this 3 years that you have done match their high school requirement, and then do the 13th year and then only go to Germany or to any other country.
Coming to the URH, so what are the main highlights of URH-FH Dortmund 13th year program? So, what are the inclusions in it?
So the URH-FH Dortmund program is a very unique program pathway that has been curated especially for Indian students to fulfill the 13th year requirement of the German education system and allow them to study at FH Dortmund. So what we have done here is that we have curated a pathway that will give you guaranteed admission into FH Dortmund. And as part of the entire process, you will get 1 year of intensive training in German, straight from A1 to C1 level. You will also be given comprehensive preparation for a particular exam called Test AS, which is an aptitude test. You will also get full training for test staff. So we train for test staff and not the other certificates, as this is what is required by the German universities. You get complete support for the whole 1 year in terms of your applications, in terms of your visas, in terms of getting your insurance, your blocked account, your APS, which is the evaluation, which is the
Academic
document
evaluation,
checking
yes.
that the German government has to do. We also give subject-specific German training in the B2 and C1 level, so that helps your transition when you go to the German university. And we have regular webinars with the International Career Service at FH Dortmund. So this gives you a direct contact with the faculty and with the university. So when you go there, it's not a new place for you. You've already got to know about this through the 1 year that you have been with us.
So, how does this program URH-FH Dortmund in comparison to those foundation years offered in Germany?
So yeah, it's a bit different. I would say that the URH-FH Dortmund pathway, which has taken almost about maybe 2 years to curate, is like an autobahn. It is a high-speed strategic transition designed for seamless integration into FH Dortmund. And what we have done is, as part of this, we have tied in different partners as well. So you have Dortmund, who is the ultimate university partner. We have URH, which helps with the entire process, the pre-screening, the vetting, the entire documentation process. We have the Institute of Foreign Language and Culture, IFLAC, which has 20 years of experience in teaching languages to students who come to IFLAC, as well as many of the big universities in Bangalore. They will entirely prepare you for the language training part. Then we have cultural integration with the Kniga Academy Indian, which is a branch of the Kniga Academy from Munich. And they are a very old school, which has a lot of emphasis on social and cultural and business etiquette programs to allow students and working professionals as well to have a direct integration into European society. So the pathway program has been curated, taking into consideration a lot of very expert organizations that can bring in the best training that is required for this. So it's slightly different from Germany, is because it is completely based on Indians' requirements. So it also helps Indians to do this transition. Generally, when you go to Germany, it's not specific to India. but here it is specific to India. So that makes it a far much more curated program. And then we have a very strict pre-screening. So we screen the student, we see how the student's performance has been. And we also have a very integrated mentorship. So we don't just take any student and just, put them into studying, and we're not seeing how their progress is, but we are constantly monitoring how their progress is. We teach them how to do project-based work so that they develop critical thinking. They're not just working on rote memorization that you normally do. So that is definitely, I would say, the most important factor that makes it very different from the general programs in Germany.
Just now we discussed about doing 13th year in India and 13th year in Germany. So, what is the specific competitive advantage for Indian students when they do the 13th year in India? You can name like 3-4 points.
So I think I would here it'll have to be specifically about the URH-FH Dortmund pathway. The specific advantage for the Indians here would be that since they're pre-verified, we are doing a pre-selection process, they get guaranteed admission into FH Dortmund. Of course, guaranteed admission means they still have to do the pathway, and they have to do the exams that form a part of the pathway, that is test AS, LVS, test staff. They don't have to do what is known as the FSP. There is otherwise an entrance exam which you
Correct.
have to do.
Correct.
And then you finish the pathway, and then you write the entrance exam, and then still you may or may not get in. But in the FH Dortmund URH pathway, this is eliminated. And the next thing that's also eliminated is there are a lot of students today applying for these courses in Germany. So if they have, say, 20 seats for a particular program, there are 1,500, 2,000 students applying for it. By coming as part of the pathway, you get eliminated from that. So you don't have to apply and wait and see what happens, whether you get accepted or you don't get accepted. Once we have verified you and we feel that you're competent enough to join the course, you can get direct admission into the course, and you have to pass your exams and go directly. You don't have an entrance exam, but you have just your test AS and test staff.
So this means this one basic advantage by joining this program is you're not 1 in 2,000.
Exactly.
Second one is you know how to crack these exams.
Exactly.
There's a test AS and test DAF. So that is one thing it will clear. So can you clarify what is the role of these two exams to get admission into German universities?
So test AS is actually basically an academic aptitude test. You can say it's somehow similar to how you do CAT.
Okay.
So it's not really a test of how much knowledge you have, but how you apply the knowledge. So when you apply to German universities now, or most of them require international students who don't come from the EU
Correct.
to do this exam to get admission. And in this exam, there are two parts of it. One is the core module, which everybody has to do, and it's basically based on logic and reasonings and things like that. The second part is a subject-specific module. So depending on what you're doing, if you're doing engineering, you'll have to take a particular track. If you're doing computer science, you'll have to do another track. If you're studying business, then you'll have to do a third track. So as part of the URH program, we prepare you for which track you're going to do. And the second exam is known as test staff. Now, test staff is basically the test of German as a foreign language. So this is particularly to see your level that you require to get into the university. So most universities require a C1 level. And why they take the test staff is because the entire structure of this exam is built towards university education. It's built on the kind of topics that you will see when you go to the university, as well as the kind of questions you get. For instance, you might get a question that is decipher this graph and write a summary on it, which you will not get in the normal German exams. So our entire training is again based on this. So when we are teaching you German, it's not like the regular German that you would get in other institutions, but we have to tailor make it to enable you to go to the university. And you need to get 16 out of 20 in the test DAF to pass the exam, which we'll easily do through our training.
Why, Risa, we asked one question about why foreign universities are coming in India, their education and all. So why German public universities are setting up this 13th year program in India?
So the German universities, primarily why they are doing and establishing these kind of collaborations in India primarily is so that they can pre-screen the students before they come to Germany. As we explained earlier, there are limited seats. And there are so many people applying for those seats. So they feel now the kind of quality of candidates that they want to get should be appropriate for the program. So here we do a pre screening so that we ensure that the candidate is motivated and is a good student. There's also cost rationalization. So otherwise, certain students who might want to do this program might not be able to do it because they would have to go to Germany and then spend close to maybe 30,000 euros to do it, because with the fees and staying over there, it will cost you 30,000 to do the pathway. But instead, over here, you can do it at a much more reduced cost.
Yes.
And then those students who otherwise might not have gone but are very good and meritorious students will get this opportunity. So, of course, the university also then benefits from getting these good students that come. And then we bridge whatever is required. The language requirement is bridged, the cultural requirement is bridged, your test AS is done, your test staff is done, your APS becomes a much more simpler system. Getting a visa becomes easier because the university and the consulate know about this program. So a lot of other factors get streamlined with such programs.
And it's also easy to train from an Indian perspective to an Indian student to Germany.
Exactly. So see, when we are training the student, we know which boards they're coming from. We know what they have studied. We know which levels of German they have to go to. We know which place we are sending them to. How do we adequately prepare them for each of the, I wouldn't say challenges, but what they'll have to face them, because there will definitely be some adaptation. So it definitely becomes easier for us. It becomes easier for them because they can explain what they require and we can help them over here.
When parents also gets a clarity of this, they understand why they need to put a lot of efforts and everything.
Exactly. And we are also here to help them even after they leave. So say they need some help in Dortmund while they are, we are working with the International Career Service. So instantly we can reach out to them. So parents also know that safety net is there.
Correct.
You know, we are here because if they need anything, they don't have to worry how to contact the university in Germany. As you know, generally in Germany, once the student arrives, they feel this is an adult and they should be managing all of their on their own. But in India, it does take Indians a bit more of time. So parents sometimes tend to be anxious about that. So we are here to fulfill that.
So what is the eligibility to get admitted to URH-FH Dortmund?
So the eligibility does vary from depending on which is the degree that you are choosing. Primary, we need at least 70% in grade 12. So a student who is getting less than 70% in grade 12 will not be eligible for any of the programs. So that is the first point. The second point is we also want to see what kind of motivation you have had. We also see which board you have come from. Generally, if you have come from the state board in Karnataka or you've done ISC or CBSC, you should not have any problem. So those are our major criteria to admit anybody into the URH program.
Do they need to write any kind of a test or is there any interview process?
Yes, there is a pre-selection interview process. It's in 2 layers. So you will first send us your documentation, your transcripts, what you have done in 10th standard, 11th standard, 12th standard. We will check all of that. Then once we feel, yes, that you are eligible based on the subjects that you have done, because also we have to see what are the subjects that you have studied in grade 11 and 12 so that you can transition into university in that program. Once we check that, then we call you for an interview. And our outreach and admissions officer, she will check all of this. And once she's satisfied, then we send that to the university. And once the university gives us the green signal that yes, all of this is correct, the documentation is right, the subject selection is proper, and they can go in for the course that they have chosen, then we admit the student into the pathway program.
What is the duration of this course?
So the duration of this course is 12 months because learning the language also takes quite some time. So we're looking at around 800 hours just to learn the language plus 100 hours of exam training so that you can pass the test stuff easily. We also have to train you for the test AS. So that is done generally. You join the pathway and within the first 3 months or 4 months, you have to write the test AS exam. So the test AS exam, you have to do it in English. That is not required to do it in German. But still you need to prepare because, Indians do a lot of rote-based learning. We have to prepare their mindset into an application-based learning. So the first few months, we help them to do this. We also connect them to students who have done the exam earlier so that they get an idea of how it is done. We give them exposure to the kind of questions they'll get in test AS. And then once they finish the test days, the complete focus then becomes on the German language and then the cultural and social etiquette training.
So after this 13th year, will they study in English or will they studying in German?
They will study in German.
Completely German.
Completely in German. So, just for Indians to know, uh, many public universities in Germany do have English taught programs, but now they're not looking at expanding the numbers in those programs. Because, as you know, public universities are funded through taxpayer money. So, the taxpayers today feel why should they be subsidizing English education? So, the major growth or the increase in number of seats is only happening in German taught programs. So, if you are looking to study in Germany, or if you're looking to even go to Spain or France, then you should study in that language because then your stay back opportunities are better. And also the course selections that you can do, because obviously in English only some of the programs are taught, not all the programs. So it
Correct.
reaches a larger network of programs that you can choose.
So what do you suggest for a student? One student want to do student colleague and one student is wanted to do this 13th year. Which one is viable?
So, a student colleague, which is what the pathway program, or rather in Germany, they have a pathway program as well as they have a student colleague. Now, what is exactly your student colleague? Student colleague means you are doing your 12th grade in German. So, to join the student colleague, first you already have to have either a B1 or a B2 level of German. You can't join it with zero German level. So, you have to first study your B1 or your B2 level depending on the requirements of the student colleague. Then you have to study the subjects. So, for instance, if you are doing engineering, you might have to study physics, math, then maybe chemistry or computer science or mechatronics, depending on what is the engineering that you are going to do. So, they have different courses. If you're doing economics, you'll have to study that. So, that process might take a little longer. And people who go to student colleague, the students who join a student colleague in Germany, then they have to write the FSP, which is the entrance exam. And the entrance exam in Germany is not one entrance exam for all universities. Each university has their own entrance exam.
Oh.
So the FSP that you might need for a TU Berlin might be different from the FSP in a TU Munich.
So it's like writing each exam for each university.
Exactly. And
Oh.
you can't apply for more than 2 FSPs. So if you fail in the first FSP and you write one more FSP, after that you cannot come back and do the entry. You can't do bachelor's again in Germany. You'll have to wait for your master's because you have failed 2 FSPs.
Can they go to private universities?
That depends on the private university.
Okay.
So this will depend, since private universities again are governed a little differently. This will depend from university to university. So in our pathway, we have done away with the FSP, but we have substituted with another exam, which is the test AS, which then tests your skills.
Correct.
So, and you don't have to study, you don't need to know German. We will take you right from beginner level up to mastery level.
Okay. So in Bangalore, we have another program run by THWS. So how different is your course with respect to them?
So I think the primary difference is if you study the THWS course, you will study in THWS. And when you do the FH Dortmund URH program, you will go to FH Dortmund. In the THWS program, which is probably more like a student colleague kind of a program, but without having to do the entrance exam, you will go to THWS and study in English. Whereas in FH Dortmund, you will go to Dortmund and you will study in German.
So when they go to FH Dortmund, so the class is mix of Indians with Germans or for any foreign nationals or only Indians?
No, it's a mixed class. So that's the advantage that you get, because what happens generally in Germany, so, English taught programs are not just there in Germany. They're there in France, they're there in the Netherlands, they're there in Spain as well. But the Germans generally in Germany don't go for English taught programs.
Yes.
They go for a German taught program.
Yes.
Unless if they want to do an English taught program, then they might go to the Netherlands. In fact, 30% of the students, international students in the Netherlands are Germans. So, but in their own country, they're studying in German. So when you join the FH Dortmund program and you reach Dortmund, your class will be, of course, there will be Germans, there will be Indians who have done it, but there will also be people from all over the world who've also done programs so that they can be qualified to study in German in FH Dortmund. So FH Dortmund has a big mix of students from different universities, from different countries. So they have their student base is around 14,000 students, and around 15% of those students are international. So you're looking at around 2,500 students who are coming from other parts of the world. So it's not just Indians who are studying in German, but there are other people also studying in German. So you get a very good international mix over there.
Because I have seen US students coming to Europe for their studies.
Yes.
Germans goes to Czech for their medicine studies.
Yes.
So we are going to their country for our higher education. Means the whole world is a student mobility kind of a thing.
Yes, and we think it's something new, but if you actually look back, I think all of us in India we're very familiar with Nalanda University.
Yes.
So Nalanda University, even in the 5th, 6th, 7th century, people were coming from all over the world to study in
India,
Nalanda.
yes.
So I think this desire to acquire knowledge in a foreign setting is an ancient, desire within the human being. So it's good because people learn to be with other people. They learn new things. They can come back to their country. They have a different perspective on life. So I think it's not just the course you study. It's the other aspects of life that you also gain from this.
Means globalization is nothing new.
No, I think globalization is quite old, but it's just the name globalization is new.
Correct. Okay. So how different or what is your advice to the students who aspire to take Ausbildung at the age of 25 plus?
I don't think people should be restricted. Say if you decide at a later age to do a degree or an Ausbildung, which is a vocational program, there's no problem with that because whatever you've learned until then, definitely that knowledge is there with you. And you might have decided that you want to change your field, you want to do something different, and you should be able to do it because there's no age or limitation. In India, maybe it's a little different because in India, you're just expected to, be very young when you start a bachelor's program or an Ausbildung, similar to Ausbildung, what you have here, the ITIs and GTTC and things like that. But in Germany, there's no such restriction. In fact, a lot of people graduate from high school and they don't start studying till they're 22, 23.
Oh,
Because they take some gap years, they travel, or they might do short-term diploma courses. They learn lots of things. Sometimes they might want to make some money before they start studying. So it's quite common over there.
okay. So in URH-FH Dortmund program, can any student apply? For example, I completed 12th. I took like 3-4 years gap, but my scores are above 70%. Still, I'm eligible to apply?
Yes, you're eligible to apply. Our admissions officer will, of course, interview you. We'd like to see, what you have done in that time because some students might have worked, some students might have done some other diplomas. That's fine. There's no restriction. We, in fact, have a current student who she has already finished her bachelor's. But because in her bachelor's, her ECTS, what the credits she has does not match the ECTS that she wants to do in a master's program, she's going to redo her bachelor's and then she's going to do her master's.
Okay. So do you offer any master programs at URH-FH Dortmund?
So we have about 70 programs available as part of the URH-FH Dortmund program, and they are both for bachelor's and master's. So there are about equal number, 35 for bachelor's and 35 for master's. And you can choose to do either your bachelor's or your master's. Of course, if you do your master's, it means you should have finished studying your bachelor's already. And the pathway is slightly different because the master students don't have to do the test AS. They have to do the test staff. The social cultural etiquette training that we do as part of Kiniger Academy Indian is also slightly different because we are assuming now as a master student, you're going as a young professional because you'll be working while you're doing your master's.
Correct.
But you have to keep in mind something that we are seeing, not just for FH Dortmund, but for other German universities also. What you might have done in your bachelor's may not qualify you for the master's that you want to study. So
Okay.
either sometimes you have to do a bridge program, or sometimes you might have to go for your bachelor's, do some credit transfers of your previous bachelor's towards your current German bachelor's, finish your bachelor's instead of 6 semesters, maybe in 3 semesters, and then move to your master program.
Can students pursue alongside of their 12th grade?
So that's very difficult, primarily because when you come out from the Indian school boards, you need the 13th year. So you need that one extra year when you should have spent time to be preparing for the pathway and fulfill the 13 years. And the second thing is that students then will not have enough time to concentrate on their 11th and 12th. And as we said, public universities in Europe, they are very focused on your academic performance.
Correct.
So if you don't get the required grades, it would be very difficult for you to go. And I think currently, keeping the world situation in mind, more and more students want to go to Europe. So the
Definitely.
competition in Europe has become very difficult.
Very difficult, yes.
So it's better you take that extra year, you properly prepare yourself, and you can get into the program that you desire rather than you try doing too many things at one time and then nothing comes out well.
It's like a hassle-free process.
Hassle-free process, correct.
So, okay, till now we discussed about students in India. So, can Indian students who are having OCI cards are eligible to do this program?
Yes, if you're an Indian student in the UAE or in Indonesia or in Hong Kong and you want to come and do this, yes, you can do it. But because of Government of India regulations, you need to have an OCI card. You can be a foreign national, but you need to have an OCI card then to study in India. And if you have an Indian citizenship, then of course, there is absolutely no barrier to coming here.
Okay. So, yeah, now it's a situation of war. So, students in Middle East, they could not write the exam. So, they are taking a consolidation of 11th and 10th, whatever their homework and all. So, they're giving the scores. Will that affect the admission process at FH Dortmund?
So, because this is a very new situation, right? This is just something that has happened in the last 2-3 weeks. So, we are as yet unsure, but we encourage students to apply to us because our admissions officer can, of course, then look at it case by case and we can reach out to the university. So, I think they will also be aware of this because it's a worldwide, it's something that is affecting a large number of students and it will affect large number of universities worldwide.
Yes.
So, something will develop, but I think it will have to be a case by case situation.
So, is there any right age for a student to decide to go abroad for their education?
It's a very difficult question to answer because what is the right age for anything is very difficult to say. But I think depending on the student and how they are, they can take a decision based on it. Of course, if you go as your master's, then you have had some years of experience, going to university in India. So that might seem easier, not necessarily, but it might seem easier. But when people go for their bachelor's, and especially when they go through the pathway program, so they have already had 1 year of experience here. They've been taught how they will learn over there. They know what to do, what to expect. They're in contact with them. So then the bachelor's transition is not difficult at all. Of course, again, it still depends on the student. And as you know, many Indian students, many Indian students, at least I think almost 2 to 3 lakh students every year go from India to do their bachelor's abroad.
Yes. So, this is a general market question to you. Is it worth to spend around 20 to 60 lakhs? That is a cost of engineering in Bangalore or in any good bigger cities or good universities. Is it worth?
So it's difficult to say, is it worth? You have to see the individual program. You have to see what that program is offering you. You have to see what kind of job opportunities are available with that particular program. And as you know, if you were to study in Europe, in public universities where there is a very minimal social contribution that you make, and your living expenses might just come up to the same as studying in some of these major engineering
Cities.
colleges in Indian cities. So you now have a wider selection. So it's not that you only have to restrict yourself to thinking which are the best universities in India that I can go to, but you can even look at best universities elsewhere because
Correct.
Public university cost makes it almost the same. Or sometimes public universities in Europe might work out to be cheaper than going to Indian universities where sometimes you're paying 60-70 lakhs for the degree.
Because why I ask this question is if they choose FH Dortmund program and they're going for public universities,
Correct.
and I don't think they don't even spend beyond 10 lakhs for the whole engineering, and they're studying in it one of the good environment of lab and the academic facilities in comparison to the student they go and pay the Comet K fees or anything. So that was my intention to ask.
So again, in India, it's very difficult to gauge the facilities of the institution. Though we have NAC and all, sometimes each college has varied premises and infrastructure compared to and the teaching faculty as compared to the European system, because their quality assurance is a little bit more stricter and the audits are there. So they have to match up to the requirements. So possibly students who, go to Germany and then they're willing to work part-time, they might eventually maybe even spend lesser than they would spend in India. But again, it just depends on what they want to get out of the degree program. And especially for students who want to do more select programs and they like to have bigger labs to work in, then FH Dortmund is definitely a better option because they have 25 labs in various fields. And they also have smaller classroom sizes. So it's not that you are lost in the classroom. So that's another advantage.
So till now we discussed what are the advantages for students and parents and all these things. So what is the benefit that FH Dortmund will get it by recruiting students like this?
Yeah, so I think something that is important for FH Dortmund here is to get quality students. So when students are applying to them directly, sometimes they're not able to vet each and every student. But here we are able to vet each and every student. So then you're not just a paper that has arrived by email to the college. You are an actual person whom we are able to understand. We are able to see what are your strengths, and then we are able to train you correctly. And as you know, FH Dortmund is in this region called NRW. NRW is called North Rhine-Westphalia. It's also known as the Ruhr area. And this is the area with the highest GDP in Germany. And they are looking at a lot of international talent to come in to work in their industries. So as FH Dortmund is closely linked to the industry, so they know that these kind of this vetted students who come in and who are motivated to study and maybe stay back and work, they're also right fit for the industry that is there. And the NRW area, about 60% of the industry is all in the medium and small sector. It's what is called the Mittelstand.
Correct.
So there are so many companies there which are, of world class. They might be just having 200 or 500 employees, but they're producing a product which nobody else is producing. And they want to attract the kind of talent that we have. India is a country with very talented people.
Absolutely.
So how do we make this match happen in a more seamless fashion? So I think this pathway is also helping to do this. And then they also require people to come with German because they are speaking only German there.
Correct.
So then they are coming with the Indian intelligence and they have the German education system. So they become a right fit for the industry as well.
So it is like preparing them for a long-term career oriented through this path, 13th year program.
Yeah. Especially because I think most Indians will definitely at least want to stay back for 5 years. Maybe not everybody wants to stay back for long term, but at least 5 years. So then you want to get the maximum out of it.
So what is your advice for a parent who always looks for a cost benefit analysis or who always thinks of ROI?
Okay, this doesn't have a direct answer. But yeah, if you are looking at an ROI today, it's of course very difficult to say which degree will give you the maximum salaries.
Returns.
But what we can say is if you go to universities like the Fachhochschule, which FH Dortmund is a Fachhochschule, and who are working with the industry, so you have better facilities to get a job. So averagely, students graduating are earning anyways between 40 to 55,000 euros when they start out. And of course, then depending on how they are, their skill sets, how they perform, they will get higher salaries. So at least you can say this is around what you will definitely earn. And the advantage also with universities like the Fachhochschulen, they have to offer industry-oriented programs. So they're not offering you some degree that is just for the sake of studying the degree.
Correct.
They have to ensure that it will lead to employability.
Okay, so it is like, okay, if I'm spending 30 to 40 lakhs in India, what is the salary that I'm getting? So I'm spending like whatever X amount in Germany with 13th year plus 3 years. So this is the average salary that I'm getting. So based on that, the parent can do a ROI analysis.
Yes, and there's another part to this as well. Because when you are studying in India, you're going directly from high school into university.
Correct.
You don't get that 13th year advantage of picking up different skill sets.
Correct.
So when you graduate, you're like every other graduate who has come out of that university. Over here, you've learned to study differently. You've become much more independent. You've become a bilingual professional because you've learned German completely. So when you come out of the university, you have opportunities in Germany to work. You can go to Austria, you can go to Switzerland, you can work anywhere in the world because you have a German degree. Plus, you can also come back to India and work for any German company or Indian company.
Yeah, because you can understand English and you know the
And
local French.
German, and your degree is world class and it's recognized everywhere. So rather than just thinking of ROI, I think people should think about what are the various advantages that you will get.
So, what are the job opportunities when they pursue at FH Dortmund or slash public universities in Germany? And what are the average salaries based on like IT or manufacturing or something like that?
So, average salaries, of course, opportunities today, specifically in Germany, are a lot in the tech sectors as well, especially when you're looking at automobile, mechanical is there. Then you're also looking at the German government taking up large scale digitization. And it's not just the German government, even state governments over there are taking up large scale digitization programs. Like, if you know now, recently, Talent Berlin, which belongs to the government of Berlin, they have set up an office in India to attract professionals to come to the Berlin area primarily for this digitization
Digitization.
push that they have. Then there is manufacturing industries, which again, Germany does not want to give up.
Yes.
They want to remain leaders in manufacturing, and all their manufacturing doesn't have to mean that they're going to be like 100,000 people working in that industry. It'll be smaller companies, but which are very niche. And again, they want the international talent. So, depending on the company that hires you, and it does not mean that only big companies pay well. In Germany, all companies pay well, and some of the mid sized companies might pay better than the larger companies. You will definitely get at least 40,000 euros as your starting salary. And then you can also be getting 70,000 euros depending on how you have performed and how you have done in your university, as well as the other skills that you've implemented. You have to be able to network, you meet people, you present yourself, what kind of social integration you've had, and how well you understand to work with them, which I think applies anywhere in the world. Even in
Yeah,
India, the
true.
same thing would be there.
So, how about the visa process for the students after completing this 13 years?
So when they are with us in the URH program, we take care of the visa process because we are in touch with the consulate. We will get all the documentation that is required from the student. We get the documentation that is required from the university, and we help the student through not just the visa process. We also help them with the APS certification, because all of their up to high school, all that has to be verified through APS. We help them for that as well, and we also help them in opening their blocked account. If students require loans, and if they are like if they qualify for it, we have a tie-up with Credila, so they can get a loan from Credila for their blocked accounts as well as for their pathway fees. So this is a complete. We not only train you, we are here to mentor you and help you through all the process.
Does the student require IELTS exam?
No,
No.
because they're not studying in English. They're only, but of course, you should know English.
Yeah.
Because you're a bilingual professional. If somebody does not have a good level of English, then we would just recommend this, that they also do preparation for IELTS, just to have that as an additional skill set. But of course, for the course, it's only German.
Is the course fees including the cost of APS?
The course fee includes APS, but it does not include the fee that you will need to pay for the exams, the test TS and test staff. We will help you enroll for that, but that you have to pay directly to
the centers.
To the centers.
So, what motivated you and your partners to start this program in India?
So I'll just give you a little background about us. The company is called URH because the three partners' name it's named after us. It's Umita, Ruchi, and Hasiba. So I have an old connection with Europe. My mother grew up in Europe, and I speak fluent Spanish, and I've been going to Europe up and down. And I've always liked the European culture and lifestyle. Ruchi used to work in the IT field. She was the CFO of many IT companies, and after you reach a point, then you want to give back. So she decided to quit and find somewhere where she can also mentor students, which she was doing also as part of her CFO role in the IT companies. Hasiba has lived for about 20 years in Germany,
Oh,
more
okay.
than 20 years. She's done her high schooling in Germany. She's done her university also in Germany. So she's very well aware of the German influence and what happens. So for me personally, again, my daughter wanted to go to Germany to study. And then it was a whole thing. First, she did an English taught program. And when she went for the English taught program, we realized that in the English taught program, there are only foreigners. So you're basically you're not really mixing with any of the local people.
Locals. True.
So networking also was difficult. And then you're not really learning so much about the country that you've gone to. Instead, you're learning about other things. So she had to make the transition to start studying in a German public university. And it was a very difficult process because it's not so straightforward. And then you have to do the student colleague. So she had to learn German. Then she had to do the student colleague. She was one of the lucky few who finished her student colleague, wrote the FSP, passed it at first attempt, and got into TU Berlin, which is generally a very difficult thing to do.
Correct.
So we started thinking, how can we help Indian students who are meritorious, who are very good in their studies, achieve this dream? So that's where we three got together, and we felt there is a need for education that is not based only on brands, that people are not just chasing some seats, even in Indian universities, which are limited, and it's taking a toll on the health of the students because 11th, 12th, they're in fact from 6th grade doing coaching classes, making it very difficult. So how can we give students an option which is different from what is there in the market, and which helps us also to mentor them, because we have so much experience. We have, with our admissions officer, Ms. Madhu, we have between us about 100 years of experience.
Absolutely.
And we have Ms. Prabha, who is part of our cultural training team, who even does some basic things as training them how to dress. So we have so many years that we should give back to people, and we should make something that is unique and helpful.
Thanks for that. And one advice to parents.
Write your own path.
For parents also the same?
For parents also. I think more for parents than for students, because students ultimately will write their own path. Parents should allow them to write their own path. So you write your own path by allowing your child to write your own path, their own path.
Okay. So again, the same question. What will you advise to students?
Same thing. Write your own path. Think what are your strengths. Work with your strengths. Don't look at only what's being given to you as part of this influencer advice, what your neighbor might have done 10 years back. Today is a unique time. The requirements are different. Write your own path, which is also actually our personal motto. We tell students, you are writing your own path, because this is not the regular course, but it's something different, which has opened a completely different avenue for students.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing so much of insightful information about the 13th year program for the parents who are listening and for viewing this, to understand the difference between our education system and German education system, and opportunities in India and abroad. And also, while choosing your professional course, so you can take a 1 day extra time to understand whether your child is suitable for this course or not, and then you can support your child so that your child can choose a right course for the right strengths. And coming to the URH-FH Dortmund program, I feel this program will give a more benefit to the students who are aspiring for their education in Germany at an economical cost, which our parents think of ROI. So this is more ROI benefited with the quality of education. I thank you for sharing all insightful information for students and parents.
Thank you, Shiva. Thank you for having me here and allowing me to present my idea to other people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.